What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Run with Jay channel. So today we're going to be doing a race recap and review of the Tunnel Marathon 2022 that I just completed a few days ago over in Washington State. So in this video we're going to cover a little bit of the race, what to look out for, some tips and hints on regarding logistics, and just an overview of the race to give you guys an idea for those of you that are interested in doing it. I know it's a very popular race for Boston qualifiers, and it's also a very beautiful downhill race, so we'll go over all of that. So if this is your first time to the channel, welcome. Please hit that like and subscribe button, as well as the bell for the notifications. And to all my returning subscribers, thank you for all of your contributions and support. So let's get this video started. So for those of you that have never heard about the Tunnel Marathon, this is a marathon over in Washington State near Seattle, in the city near North Bend, where it's a trail marathon. However, it isn't your traditional trail marathon where you're running in different terrain like an ultra marathon. This is a marathon on hard packed gravel, so everyone pretty much wore regular concrete running shoes. But the best part of it is that this marathon is not on concrete, so it's a little bit easier on your legs as opposed to running all of it on in the roads. So the group that puts on this race does it about 3 times a year. The first one is around June, and then they have one in August and one in September as well. It's a great race run by a great race director. The event for me, went very smoothly. I got what I came for, a Boston qualifier time of 3:02. My time limit was 3:05, so I'm happy about that. So it was a very exciting race, beautiful views, and I truly enjoyed it. So the race itself is about $160, and if you're looking to do the bus shuttle, it's also an additional $12 as well. Keep in mind this race does sell out, and there will be a waiting list, so if you want to do this race, make sure you register as soon as possible. And this race touts itself as one of the top qualifying races for the Boston Marathon. I believe in 2019 they had about over 40% of people qualify for the Boston Marathon, so it is a very high qualifying race. Probably because it's a net downhill race where you're just going downhill constantly throughout the whole race, and it's also on hard packed gravel instead of concrete, so it's easier on the legs. I wouldn't go to say that this race is just easier. In general, that you'll definitely get your time that you're looking for. It definitely helps, but running a 26.2 mile race for any average person that's not an elite athlete or a professional is going to be tough for an individual. So doing a marathon in itself is a task, and being able to run your Boston qualifier time or whatever time you're striving for is an admirable goal for any non-elite athlete. So I wouldn't say it's automatically will give you a time bump, but most people do get a personal best in this race, and a lot of people do get Boston qualifier times. So another cool part of this tunnel marathon is you get to actually run through a pitch black tunnel in the middle of a trail, which is pretty cool. It's definitely a unique experience. They highly recommend you bring headlamps to the race, which I did buy on Amazon for like $15. I pretty much didn't even need the headlamp because if you're running with a big crowd, everyone's going to have lights on, so they pretty much light up the tunnel for you. But if you're one of the faster people in front, you might not have that many people providing light for you, so you might need to get a headlamp so you know where you're going and where you're stepping in, because there are some puddles within the tunnel that you might not be able to see without a headlamp. So the tunnel is one of the biggest attractions about this race, and it's a really cool feature about the race. It's you pretty much get in the tunnel within the first mile of starting the race, so it's really cool. And the first maybe like 100 or 200 meters is very curved, so you have to try to stay in the middle. As you go further in the tunnel, it starts to become flatter, so you're able to pass people by on both sides. And what's cool about it is once you start running in, you can see a tiny light in front of you, which is the light at the end of the tunnel basically. So it's a pretty cool experience. It's definitely something I've never done before in running a marathon. And once you get out of the tunnel, they do offer containers where you can drop off your headlamps, so you don't have to carry it with you throughout the whole race. And then they do provide that bib tag number, so you can actually get your headlamp back as well, which is pretty cool. This isn't to say that you could just do this race with minimal training and you'll get your result. You still have to train for this just like any marathon. If anything, you might need to train a little bit of downhill running as well, so your quads can take the beating. A lot of people think running downhill marathon like those Revel races will guarantee you a personal best, but I've done a couple, and on the first one that I failed, my quads were pretty shot after mile 20, so that's something I didn't expect to happen. So that's something to look out for. Just because it's net downhill does not mean it's easier per se. So again, the race ran very well. Everything was well organized, all the way from emails and communications to the end of the race for the post-race celebrations, which is very nice. Before the race starts, you'll get an email from the race directors telling you everything you pretty much need to know about the race, where to park, and then they do have emails that you can write to if you have any outstanding questions. Packet pickup is usually the day before, so for my race in June, packet pickup was on a Saturday between 12 to 4 p.m. at a Nike factory store in North Bend, Washington. When I got there a little bit past 12, the line was about a block long, and it took me about 40 minutes to finally pick up my package, so expect a long wait time to pick up your bib, your t-shirt, and all of the other stuff that you would need for the race. So if you want to get there early to be ahead of the line, that's something to look out for. Things you will get during bib pickup is obviously your bib. You will get also attached to your bib 2 tags that you can rip off. One is for your carry or check-in bag, and the other is for your headlamp that you will wear during the race. And besides that, you will get your free t-shirt, race t-shirt that I'm wearing right now, as well as other t-shirts from past years that they had extras of that they were giving away as well, so that was pretty nice. And on the day of the race, you'd have a couple options of either driving to the finish line and finding parking there, or they do offer a shuttle where you can park nearby a middle school parking lot, and then they have those orange school buses that will take you to the starting line, which is a big parking lot as well that does have bathroom facilities and porta potties. One thing to keep in mind though, since this isn't a big race, there was limited porta potties, so there was a huge line before the race started. So keep in mind, if you need to use the bathroom, I would get to the race start as quickly as possible and get line to the porta potties or the bathrooms. They start the race pretty much exactly at 7 and 7:10 for the second wave, so you don't want to miss that because it can mess up your timing as well. They do offer people who needs extra time for an hour additional earlier start. So if you plan to run maybe about 6 hours or so, they do give you the option to start 1 hour ahead before the actual race starts. So you have to let the race directors know about that. So I do wish they had more porta potties, but you just come prepared to use the bathroom right away, as there is going to be a long line for that. The weather at the starting line was pretty good in my race. It was about 40 to 50 degrees, not too much wind, just cold enough where it's going to be a good day, where you're not going to sweat like crazy and it will be too hot. So my race day was perfect. It was around 40 to 50 degrees the whole time. Just enough coldness and chill, and they had a little bit of a drizzle as well to keep me cool. So the weather condition was perfect, and you had cover from the trees in the trails, so that helped block out some sunlight if there were to be sun. But for the most part, it was a gorgeous day. My plan worked as I wanted, and I got my Boston qualifier time, and what you can't really ask for more than that. So throughout the race, there's about 10 stations where they offer water, Gatorade, and Stinger gels, which is a later part of the race in those stations. So every couple of miles they would have a station with a couple people there to offer you liquids or whatever you would need, so that was nice. Some races do offer more aid stations, but I felt like in this race it was pretty much adequate, and I was fine because it wasn't as hot as other races. And also during the race, as you're running on hard packed gravel, there are like puddles here and there, so you have to just watch out for that. Overall, the surface was packed gravel. Didn't feel like I was running on real trails, For the most part, I felt like almost running on the roads, but it's definitely much more comfortable for my legs and knees as opposed to running straight on the road. So throughout the course, as you're running it, you're going to be surrounded by beautiful scenery. Sometimes you'll run next to a waterfall, or there's a high-rise bridge that you'll run over a few times. So it's just gorgeous. Sometimes you just want to kind of look around, take pictures of how beautiful it is. So besides the race, you can also take in the views, which the race also touts itself for. Finish line was great. There was tons of food, all the way from cake to candy, chocolate milk, water, Gatorade, pretty much everything, even watermelon, and I think there was pizza or something as well. At that point I couldn't really eat anything, so I wish I could have had more things to eat, but there was a lot of food options at the end, which was great. They also had a massage company there, so you could pay for a massage if you wanted to, which is the prices were pretty reasonable. It was about, I think, $20 for like a 15-minute massage, and it definitely helped after running a marathon to have a massage station there. The bag drop off and pickup was pretty seamless. There wasn't that many people, so I got in line. I was able to get my bag pretty quickly. And then if you wanted to head back to your car, you can take the orange buses, which is really close to the finish line, to take you back and go about your day. So it's a small race, however it was ran very well. I enjoyed pretty much everything about the race. It's definitely a different and more unique race compared to your usual road marathons or the majors that I've run, such as New York and Chicago. You're not going to have people really cheering you on throughout the race. There is some spots where people are cheering people on with signs and stuff, but for the most part it's literally you running with other runners in the trails. You're pretty much going to hear footsteps about 90% of the time of other runners running next to you or in front of you. So it's a really it's a race. It's kind of like almost calming, but it's a little bit different, and it kind of really gets you focused. So logistics wise, there are hotel options that are nearby the middle school where the parking lot is. Those are a little bit expensive during race weekend, as of course, because everybody wants to stay there. And that'll probably take you about 15-20 minutes to get to the starting line. I opted to stay closer to Seattle in like the suburbs of Bellevue. There was a couple of cheaper hotels there, and the total was only about 20 to 25 minute drive at like 4 in the morning to get to the starting lines, which wasn't too bad. On their website as well, they do offer partner discounts for hotel and lodging around the area. Be sure to take advantage of some of those discounts while booking your lodging if you're still looking for hotels prior to coming to the race. I woke up at about 4:30, had breakfast, a sandwich, had some bananas, and then was off to the parking lot at 5 o'clock. By 5:30, I was already dropped off at the starting line. So I had plenty of time to get warmed up and ready for the race at 7. Obviously, there's a lot of options for lodging, but as I said before, I would try to stay as close as possible to the race starting line because that's the one less stress you want to put on yourself before even the race starts. And obviously, the closer you get to the race, the more expensive the hotels will be during that race weekend. Flying to the race, the easiest airport, in my opinion, to get to Seattle would be the Seattle-Tacoma Airport. That is a large airport. It's about 30 to 40 minutes from the actual starting line. It's only about 20 to 25 minutes to downtown Seattle, but with traffic, it could take longer. So the airport's not too far from the city and from where the race is, so that was a good thing. And there's tons of flights that fly there, so that's probably the airport I would be looking at if you're looking to fly there. So next are some tips and hints about the race. So in general, when you're running this race, you will be going at times faster than you expect. So there were times in the race where I didn't even feel like I was going downhill, but when I'm looking at my watch, I'm going over 30 seconds faster than my expected pace. So be prepared for that. For some reason, it didn't feel like I was going downhill, but it just showed that I was going a lot faster than I expected. So I don't know if that's because the course, but it's a really gradual downhill, so it doesn't take a toll on your knees as something like where you're going down a mountain. And your watch probably won't sync up 100% once you cross the tunnel, because my watch was about 0.3 faster than the actual distance that I was running. They do have markers down on the road for every mile that you run past, which is nice. I would also bring some warm clothes in the beginning of the race to warm up in, and you can always check your clothes and take them off right away before you start. And the drop-off bag is literally like right next to the starting line, so it's very convenient. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments section if you guys have any other questions about the race, or if you have done the race already. I would love to hear what you thought about it. Did you get the time you were looking for? Or if you're registered for the race, I'd love to know when you're running and how your training is going. So if you guys have any other comments or feedback, please feel free to leave them down below as well. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that like and subscribe button. Hope you guys are all staying safe and your training's going well, and I'll talk to you guys on the next run.